Hello and welcome to Gritty Reboot, the show where we make fun of TV's dark side. I'm Sarah Dunaway, and with me, finally being allowed to see the truth that board games control the world, are my co-hosts Kevin James and Hunter Markham. Hunter, how are you?
I'm bleeding out, and I just crawled through half a mile of raw sewage, but I think I should be fine. Everyone knows that sewage and open wounds go together like burger joint speakeasies and alcohol-free mixed drinks.
That is so true. Kevin, do you want to help out Hunter or do your introduction?
The introduction seems a little more pressing right now. Hi, Sarah. It is... Ooh, a natural one. Sorry, I guess it's miserable to be here, and I probably lost an arm just saying that intro.
Wow, sorry to hear about your arm. I was lucky in that I only got stabbed in one kidney. I can probably just walk it off.
That's probably true.
This episode, we got back to whatever the hell was going on before our 80s, 90s diversion, but what the hell happened?
I don't know. This prison plot ended so abruptly.
I know, I'm going to say, they held on to the prison plot as long as they possibly could, which was about 3 episodes.
And they also tried to turn the prison into like a second fancy speakeasy. Somehow.
The prison plot, which seemed like it was going to be this overarching season-long thing, because, I don't know, there's like 20 episodes in season 3. Archie's out of prison by the end of this episode, spoiler alert.
Like all the best spoiler alerts, that was delivered after the spoiler.
I'm really bad at this. Okay, if you are listening to this podcast and you haven't seen the episode, it's gonna get spoiled for you anyway, so... But that's what we do here. We talk about TV shows, and we spoil everything, and that's what Gritty Reboot is.
Yeah, so this episode, The Great Escape, which, gotta be honest, the escape was like just above average at best.
Could have gone better.
It was not as involved as The Great Escape in the film it was named after, and there was no... Okay, there was a motorcycle scene, which I think was a callback to in The Great Escape, where like Steve McQueen's doing the motorcycle jumps and cool stuff.
Wait, this is referencing the movie The Great Escape? I thought it was named after the 2006 hit song from pop punk band Boys Like Girls.
Me too.
That's what Wikipedia told me it was.
I've never heard of this. I'm used to the like POW Camp 1963 movie with Richard Attenborough, Charles Bronson, Steve McQueen, and everyone's favorite, James Coburn. Right? Like, a bunch of James Coburn fans out there. I'm the only one, okay? I went through a phase, I watched, like, every James Coburn movie.
Wow, we have learned some things about Hunter, and we just need a minute to process.
You see what I mean about men in history? It's a thing.
You know, it's James Coburn and Freddie Prinze Jr. are probably my 2 favorite actors of all time.
Well, of course, Freddie Prinze Jr., but I mean, James Coburn? Come on.
But yes, this episode, they're making a reference to a Prison Break movie. There's a prison break in it. I can kind of get where they're going with this. I probably would have titled it something else. And maybe you guys thought of some, but I can throw myself on the altar. I have one title that I came up with that I think is pretty decent.
All right.
It is Campaign for My Real Friends, Real Pain for My Paladins.
I forgot to come up with anything, but I'll just say that this should have been titled The Sweet Escape after Gwen Stefani's hit 2007 pop song.
Why did that make me laugh?
Gwen Stefani references are just comedic gold. We all know this.
It's a coin flip whether Sarah just now realized that we're doing titles or not.
I absolutely just realized that we're doing titles.
Yeah, it's a coin flip if it's like Two Faces double-sided heads coin.
This is the last time we're doing this segment. By next week, we're gonna have a new segment. We're not doing titles anymore. You know, we've come up with all the good ones. They're done.
I mean, that's probably true.
You're gonna have to come back to me later.
All right.
I'll come up with something. I will. I really
Want
will.
to do the 3 or 4 cultural references supercut?
Yes, they didn't really go that deep into it.
Yeah, supercut's a bit of an exaggeration. Like,
Thank you for mansplaining my business to me. I saw Archie. He's caught up in some diabolical teen fight club.
Our game begins with a Judas kiss. The traitor has wounded the paladin, severely weakening his defenses. With his life in peril, it's now up to you, Dream Warriors.
So yeah, I'm not sure mansplaining counts as a cultural reference, but like, there were only 3 other things. So I'm like, I've got to have something else in here.
Should I mansplain mansplaining?
Please. Sarah, you have to object for this to really work.
Mansplaining is when you just, like, explain something in really, just basic terms to someone as if they're an idiot.
Well, and bonus points if it is actually in the woman's field of expertise.
I'm not sure it was in Veronica's field of expertise, though, because Elio, the mob guy, I guess, he just like, your speakeasy would be a lot cooler if you had drugs. And she's like, oh, thanks for explaining my business to me. And it's like, are you sure? Like, I think he gave you some good advice here. No one wants an alcohol-free speakeasy.
Exactly. But the Dream Warriors thing, like, they're really hammering on this, because that was the 3rd Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Yes, I also think this is just so funny. Like, why did they decide on Dream Warriors? Did Jughead hear secondhand from Betty that they had played the song Dream Warriors as the Midnight Club? And it's like, well, we can't use Midnight Club because we go to bed by 10. Like, we're real strict about that here in the Southside Serpent compound. So I guess we'll have to go with Dream Warriors. That's the only other reference to, like, a kind of, like, band name.
Yes. Oh, I do have to issue a correction. I know a million people are probably flipping out and angry at me. Last week, I said I believed Dream Warriors was the first music video ever shown on MTV's Headbangers Ball. I was wrong. It was the second.
Oh, what was the first?
Some song by Cinderella.
Oh, disappointing. Hunter, you're fired. Get us your cat, Jellybean. That cat is taking over for you for the rest of this episode.
So there was another cultural reference or another stupid thing where Veronica's reading a paper called the Wall Beat Journal, which I guess is like a Tiger Beat Wall Street Journal crossover.
I mean, a mashup that was waiting to happen.
Which teen pop singer got the best stocks? Ooh. All that and more on page 17.
It was just really stupid. And, on Netflix, I did notice Riverdale is rated TV-14 for, quote, sex, suicide, fear, and language. And I'm like, the characters in this hardly use what I would call language.
Yeah, they're kind of skimping on the sex, too, I have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, Joaquin and Archie had a moment there, and it was brimming with sexual passion, unlike Veronica and Archie's scene, but,
Oh, that was so disappointing for me. I just had so much hope well up inside of me that this show was going to take an exciting turn, and then Joaquin just shivved it right out of me.
Okay, so actually, I think that's a good cultural reference scene.
You know what? Now that I think about it, maybe full body penetration is what I got TV-14 for.
So, no, I think that scene was a cultural reference because we have the character Joaquin going to Archie, who's about to be a quote-unquote gladiator, and stabbing him, which is just like the scene in Gladiator where Russell Crowe gets stabbed before he goes in the ring, and of course, the Emperor who stabs him is played by Joaquin Phoenix. So I thought that scene was like a direct reference to Gladiator, and it was sort of like a Joaquin Phoenix joke.
That makes sense, but it's so clever, I kind of think it's beyond the capabilities of the Riverdale writers.
I'm giving them some credit here.
All right, I came up with my movie title.
Yeah, all right.
I decided to go sewer-based. Teenage Mutant Intramurals.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so should we get into the plot of the episode?
All right, yeah. If someone could explain the plot to me, I would be really pleased.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Jughead and his actual gang of, like, hardened, weapon-having teenagers have been just going all in on griffins and gargoyles. They're in the midst of the gang war, but this is more important.
What happened to the gang war?
I don't know. Did they forget about it? Is that still coming? Questions that will surely never be answered.
And then Archie comes up with the most brilliant plan for a prison escape I've ever seen, which is to just scale the fence in broad daylight.
Yes.
And
was that his plan? Because it's bad enough I'd believe it was his, but the way he confessed immediately to the warden made me think, oh, he's just protecting whoever came up with the actual plan.
Well, I mean, they need protection because that was never going to work. Just stick to your modeling career, kids. That's not...
Also, Joaquin is the worst prison breaker of all time. He just, runs 3 feet and immediately trips over himself and just goes sprawling on the ground.
It was very confusing at first, too, until I realized they were rubber bullets.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yes.
you...
It confused me on the first watch, too.
Maybe it was supposed to be confusing and dramatic, but I was just like, are they all supernatural now? What's happening? This show doesn't have enough of a consistent thread for me to feel secure in the knowledge of the world.
Well, I think we were supposed to be confused because that's what leads to the great Jughead narration line of, it's not life or death, unless it is.
So
Hedging his bets.
So the thing is, yeah, they make a break for the fence. The guards pull out guns. There's this really dramatic moment in the music, and we're like, wow, these kids are going to be shot in the back while trying to escape the juvenile detention center. And it did take me a second to realize that they were getting shot with rubber bullets.
Well, it's filmed like a gangland massacre. The police are advancing in a single line with what look like automatic weapons just unloading as the kids are already on the ground.
It was a little bit intense, but not as intense as Jughead gets over griffins and gargoyles.
Oh, real quick, I do want to say we have our first little Archie Joaquin moment. They get a little snuggle sesh on the ground while Archie protects him from the rubber bullets.
So sweet.
Yeah, Archie covers up Joaquin so that Archie takes the brunt of the hits because he's just a good friend and a swell guy like that. Which really, it sets up later this beautiful kiss scene we get between the two of them.
Yes.
Also, Joaquin and Archie in the last episode had big old face wounds from getting the shit beat out of them in boxing. So I'm gonna guess weeks have passed since the last time we've seen Archie.
This is why it's so hard to know. Veronica also says in this episode, she's hit a dead end with the Innocence Project, which... I don't know how you hit a dead end with that so quickly because the Innocence Project has projects that have been going on for decades.
And cases take years to be resolved through the Innocence Project. That's not a small task.
She's not very patient, as we see later on in this episode. But man, I honestly I busted up laughing over Jughead getting super into griffins and gargoyles when Betty comes in and he starts monologuing about it.
That we have been playing this game for a lot longer than we know. And off-board, think about it. The hot dog rescue? What was that if not a quest? The serpents? The ghoulies? What are they? If not warring tribes? You might as well call us orcs and goblins.
It was sort of like my prediction where I was like, no, he's into the game, but it's for the reason of trying to unravel the mystery, and that twist or that cliffhanger at the end of last episode doesn't really pay off in this episode.
No, I do love though Betty just putting her head in her hands as he drones on and on. Oh, hang in there. It's only going to happen to you 1,000 more times in your life if you keep dating men.
But she walks in and he's playing a board game with his friends and she's like, Chug, what are you doing? As if she just walked in on him putting his dick in the toaster or something. She's so horrified.
I mean, the show kind of tries to walk this line of is Jughead crazy or is he just in this to investigate? But they don't do a great job with that.
It doesn't feel like they know the answer.
Yes.
Yes.
And Cole Sprouse is really struggling to act it as best he can. He can't sell the lines because they're dumb as hell, but he's doing a great job with the physicality.
There's some really bad lines in here where he's just don't you see? We've been playing this game longer than we realize. And he's the ghoulies and the serpents, they're orcs and goblins, where he's just seeing parallels between fiction and real life, which anyone can make. But he has to sell this. and it results in him chewing scenery, and it reminds me of what I think is one of the funniest characters in the history of television. Have you guys seen the show Dexter?
Yes.
Season 1 and 2, where there's the detective Dokes who's always just looking at Dexter, and he's just like, "You're a weird motherfucker. You creep me out, Dexter." And every single line, like, everyone else is just like, "Hey, Dexter, how's it going? I'm a normal person in this universe." And there's this one guy who just, like, walks through the wall, breaks the lamp, and is like, "Man, fuck you. I don't like your face."
Dokes was seriously one of the best parts of the show.
I know. We have actually discussed on many occasions how the show went south as soon as they decided to get rid of Dokes, because then there's no tension anymore. Everyone, his job is just like, "Yep, Dexter's a stand-up guy. That's what I believe in." And then it's like, we had so much tension.
You glide around like a lizard on ice skates, motherfucker. That's one of his lines. Like, I memorized them because I thought it was some of the best comedy in the history of television.
Oh, it's great. I mean, that's why he's amazing. Is that it's so over the top, but I love it.
So,
yeah.
I mean, Jughead kind of channels that here, where he's just like, "Don't you see, Betty? The game only exists in Riverdale."
You're not seeing the big picture. Eldervale, the realm of griffins and gargoyles, is an anagram for Riverdale. The whole game is an analog for Riverdale.
But you're right. Like, his understanding of parallels is very, like, high school junior who just learned how literary illusions work.
Yes. And then he has the line of, "Betty, how do you catch a game master? You become a game master yourself." Which means he's just seen Rambo 2, which has this beautiful line.
"Survive a war, you gotta become war."
To survive a war, you gotta become war, which is what Jughead's doing here.
I've always said that Jughead reminds me of a young Sylvester Stallone.
The only thing that beats a bad guy with dice is a good guy with dice.
And Betty's just like, "I can't deal with this," and leaves. And just like, he's clearly going through something. I don't want to handle this right now. This is someone else's problem.
And that's when we get to Veronica just, like, reading her paper while Hiram comes in from the gym, and it's this weird reversal where it looks like she's the adult and he's the teenager, and I just don't understand.
That whole scene was weird because it just exists for him to be like, "Archie tried to escape and it didn't go well."
Also, you want to go jogging? Like,
Yes. "Oh, you should come running with me. It's very invigorating."
Let me tell you, the Shadow Woods trail that I run, it is gorgeous this time of year. The way the light plays through the trees.
the way I'm going to drown you in Shadow Lake. I mean, the way that we'll run by the lake.
And I just have to ask, like, what year is this that any Generation Z person is reading an actual physical newspaper?
Yeah, what, does she have a school project on it or something? Is she making a collage? What's going on here?
Shouldn't she be reading the news on her phone? We could have just as easily had a shot of her looking at some news app on her phone.
Like a regular person. Yeah, that would have been okay. I would have been
Yeah.
good with that.
Hey, that's almost as unbelievable as Archie tied to a prison cot.
Oh my god, this transition.
I can't get over this because it's like a full, like weirdly, like way too much rope and like way too artfully binding him, where it went from like, he's gonna be tortured to like, this, like, the warden's getting off on this.
Oh, fully. I mean, he's like, "Let this serve as a reminder. My entire character is wanting to inflict torture on boys." Like,
I think you guys are really attributing some sinister motives to the warden that I'm not sure are borne out. He's just branding Archie so that if he wanders off the prison, the other ranchers can return him to the warden.
I just wonder, like, he's just branding him with like a glamazon.com logo or something.
Yeah. And he brands him around the hip, so I have this little joke that this is a real new meaning to the term fire crotch.
Poor Archie getting branded right on the flank. We go from Veronica reading the paper in her brightly lit, like, apartment, and then it's dark cell with Archie bound to a metal cot while fire flickers in the corner and the warden slowly heats his branding iron.
And then right after that, we cut to Josie be like, "You mean my mom was an apartheid activist? What?"
Yeah,
The tonal shifts in this episode.
because Betty asks Josie, Reggie, and Kevin to kind of question their parents on their involvement in Griffins and Gargoyles since she heard this whole story from Alice last week. And she tells them to be subtle when they ask. And I'm like, you're asking Reggie to be subtle?
Maybe old Reggie could have pulled that off, but not new Reggie.
New Reggie? That's like asking a dog to stand up and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're just going to, hey, Dad, you ever play Griffins and Gargoyles? I heard you did some stupid shit.
I mean, that would explain the black eye he gets later for this.
Oh, I have a whole thing about that.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Well, it's just any other show, any normal show would have been like, oh, this minor child is being abused by his parents.
This same show last week did that with FP as a child.
And then it's Riverdale, so they're just like, whatever, moving on.
Like, I think Betty, for a second, when she sees he has a black eye, it's like, oh gosh. But no one's like, Reggie, like, you clearly have some problems at home. What can we do to help? They're like, help me break into this underground fight club, Reggie.
Right, no one's like, let's call DHS. No.
Put your problems aside.
Yeah, so...
Just as a mandated reporter, that hurt my heart a little bit. I was like, why are we skipping over this? This is not a thing to gloss over. Reggie, are you okay? Even though he's
Reggie's
new Reggie,
got a lot
I
of
still
like
care.
natural self-protection. If his dad goes for his face, I mean, Reggie's cheekbones can cut a fist. I'm pretty sure.
That's true.
I know you alluded to this scene earlier with Veronica talking to the mobster guy, Elio. I guess he was someone in season 2, but Veronica just knows people with mob ties.
I don't know who Elio is, but Elio is a great name if you want to sound like you're giving 2 British greetings at once. Elio!
Who is this guy? He's just some like mobster who owns casinos, and she's just like, oh, I want you to help me break Archie out of Leopold and Loeb, or as they call it, L&L, which I'm like, that's a Hawaiian barbecue place.
Yes!
So...
All I could think of was like, let's go hit up L&L, get some grinds. Like, no.
Wow, I'm out of the loop on this one.
They're all over California, Kevin.
Sorry, I'm not familiar. California?
Are they in California? Weird.
Kevin, you better be lying to me right now.
I really don't know about this place you're talking about. I do know what California is.
Okay, we'll talk about this off air. How you somehow lived most of your life in California without knowing what L&L Hawaiian barbecue is.
I'm sorry, I just don't know.
I mean, it's not... I've been to L&L, but I don't eat meat, so I have to tell you that the Hawaiian barbecue thing is a little lost on me. I was more of a poke girl all the way before it was cool, you know?
There's nothing on the L&L menu that's vegetarian, believe me.
No, even at, what's it called? Zippy's. When I lived in Hawaii, it was like, we'd go and I would ask for the vegetarian chili and it would have meat in it, just like less meat. And I would like be like, hey, like one time I went up and I was like, excuse me, like I'm really sorry to bother you, but this has meat in it. And the guy was like, oh yeah, that happens. How?
How is it that you, the 2 vegetarians of the podcast, are very well acquainted with this Hawaiian barbecue place, and me, I'm just like, I've never heard of this. What is this?
What's wrong with you? Yeah, it was so weird. I was like, I've never once made vegetarian chili and had it accidentally have meat in it. Never at all.
Oh, that reminds me. The vegetarian chili I made for you last night, that may have a few chunks of pork in it.
Yeah, right.
But, okay, so Elio does tell Veronica that he will help her get, like, somehow see Archie or whatever, and something's going on with that. But
yeah,
that's not as important as Jughead in his trailer feverishly writing his next G&G campaign.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love this scene so much because it's so dramatic and there's like the really dramatic music and all they are setting up here is that Cheryl is a good sharpshooter, which is not new information.
We know from episode 1 of this season that from Jughead's mouth, he says, Cheryl never misses. And then there's this weird scene, which I'm going to need some help with this because I don't understand it. It starts with Cheryl and Tony coming in to Jughead's trailer swishing around an arrow with really loud swish sound effects.
Yes.
And being like, oh, Fangs and Sweet Pea are like hammered drunk and firing arrows because they really want to LARP and take G&G into the real world.
Yeah, every line of this doesn't make sense. Like, your entire arsenal of weaponry is just Cheryl's arrows, and she doesn't keep her arrows by her side? Like, what? And Fangs and Sweet Pea have decided to drunkenly shoot the arrows at Tony's tent?
Yeah, we were practicing our aim. Yeah, for the next quest.
We want to go off board, take G&G into the real world.
Tony and Cheryl apparently hook up in a tent in like a crowded tent city area. Doesn't one of them have some sort of more permanent residence?
No idea. But yeah, Fangs and Sweet Pea are like, we just really need to go off board, Juggy. And Jughead's like, I'll show you. You want off board? I'm playing William Tell, motherfuckers.
Okay, but what does that prove? Where he like takes Mike's hard lemonade can or something, puts it on his head, stands against a tree, and has Cheryl shoot the can off his head, and he's like, I'm dominant over you, Sweet Pea. This is how it goes. I'm running this train, and you better hop on or get out of the way.
He's not serious, is he?
Fire, Deadeye!
And Sweet Pea's just like cowed and like, you're crazy, but I'll listen to you. Like, how did that prove anything?
I don't
We know Cheryl is a peerless shot. We never for a moment were like, Jughead's gonna get hurt. Okay, I was just so confused by this. I didn't know why this scene was here. And I watched it twice and I was just like, what?
I think it's just to show how intense they're getting and how Jughead really is crazier than he's letting on at this point. But it's baffling. And my question this whole time is, what on earth is going on with the gang war? So I did some digging, wondering, just did the writers forget about the setup they had 4 episodes ago? And it turns out there's a deleted scene on the season 3 DVD that explains what has happened with the Ghoulie gang war.
Wow. I'm so glad that I authorized that extra budget for you to buy the season 3 DVD box set. Let's take a listen to this scene so we can find out what the heck the Ghoulies are doing all this time.
Oh, Jonesy, come out and play. I got 30 of the toughest ghoulies I could find, all armed to the teeth and looking for trouble.
Penny, now's really not a good time. I'm trying to reclass my Dragonkin Shaman as a multi-class cleric / necrolord, but I'm not sure I have the intelligence stats necessary to access some of the cantrips that would be most useful for this class.
Are you ignoring our gang war for a tabletop RPG?
Some of us have priorities, Penny.
Yeah, well, your priorities suck. Besides, everyone knows that necrolords cast with wisdom stat, not intelligence. You're clearly thinking of an archdruid class.
Penny, are you...
The best Griffins and Gargoyles player on the south side? You're damn right I am.
But I thought all you cared about was the gang war.
The gang war is part of the game, Jonesy, and we've been playing off board for a long time. I mean, you might as well call us Orcs and Goblins.
That's what I told Betty, but she doubted me. Hey, we should play a campaign to settle this rivalry once and for all. Winner gets control of all of Riverdale.
You're on. My ghoulies versus your serpents in a multi-art quest competition for the ages.
Bring your A game, bitch. We'll settle things this Sunday.
Sunday doesn't work for me. I have a piano recital that day. Would Saturday work?
I wish, but that's when the PSATs start, and I need to know how well I'm going to do on the real thing to see which colleges to check out over winter break. I'm hoping for Mizzou, which has a great J school, but I'll settle for UT Austin if I have to.
Oh, I totally get it. That's super important. I got a 1450 on my SATs and my dad was thrilled. My parents and I checked out Tufts, which has a great biology program, just last summer, and I think it's my first choice.
Oh, that's a good school, but we're getting sidetracked here.
Yeah, that's bound to happen. I mean, we are high school juniors and seniors who have a lot to do to get ready for our college careers. I wonder if we even have time for this gang war campaign between all the various athletics and honors courses we're taking.
We'll find a way to work around everyone's schedules. You share your Google Calendar with me and we'll figure out a time that works.
Thanks for being so accommodating. Oh, maybe we can turn this into some kind of official club to boost our extracurriculars. Just something to think about. All right, gang, let's move out. We got 40 more grams of Jingle Jangle to unload before Malachi has to leave for debate club practice, so let's get a move on.
Well, at least now we know what Penny's doing and why she's not taking over all of the Serpent territory.
Yeah, she's packing for Boston.
I really appreciate that this show remembered just that these kids are still high schoolers and they have things that they're working on and looking forward to. They're still real kids.
Oh, are they in school?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, interesting.
Well, we have a shot of them breaking into a chemistry lab at school, but as of yet this season, I think the only time we've seen characters in class was when the mayor came in to ban griffins and gargoyles.
We saw Cheryl briefly in the hallway when Jughead's like, oh my god, how'd you get that Griffins and Gargoyles manual?
It seems like there's just like brief establishing shots at school, but 90 to 95% of what happens in this series is totally outside of school. And at the juvenile detention center, there is literally zero reference to the fact that these kids are still mandated to attend classes and things like that.
And then from the whole Jughead letting himself get shot out with arrows thing, Elio comes to get Veronica, gets her into the rec center, but he doesn't tell her anything about the underground boxing.
Well, she loves surprises.
Oh, are we going to go into the underground boxing right now?
We could. Do you really want to skip over the crucial detail that Sierra and Tom Keller announced they're getting married off screen?
I'm so excited that we've shoehorned this backstory right into the present. Just like great retconning of a future con. Good job.
Was this something that maybe in the 22 episodes we skipped, there was a sort of brewing romance between former Mayor McCoy and former Sheriff Tom Keller, and this all makes sense? Or are we just led to believe that in this episode when they're like, kids, we're getting married, that this is the first time Kevin and Josie have heard about this?
They sure act like it's been going on for a while, but I wouldn't put it past Riverdale for this to all just have happened right now.
I prefer to believe that they just needed to have a wedding happen later in this season, and so they just were like, and I guess we're doing this now.
At the same time, FP is talking to Jughead, and he's doing this thing where every time Skeet Ulrich has to like lecture or sound self-righteous, he kind of like half sobs his lines where he's like, so you're still screwing around with this crap, huh, boy? Jughead is going crazy again, explaining this whole Gargoyle King theory, but he's like, don't you want to know the truth about this? Don't you want to find out who killed Principal Featherhead, who we saw in one episode that was a flashback? And I was kind of like, why does FP care? Like, it's not like he was someone he was close to or attached to. If that had been the story, it would have been a little bit different.
Yeah.
Where's Luke Perry in all of this? When was the last time he did anything in this show?
Good question. As far as I know, he just kind of sauntered off after asking the warden if he could visit Archie and then never walked back in.
That was ages ago. He's got almost no screen time in this entire season. Smash cut to underground fighting.
Yeah, Veronica's in her awful wig getup again, going into the rec center to watch Archie box. And she has a great moment where Archie is still being let in with his head covered. And she goes, oh my god, I'd recognize those abs anywhere. Then someone takes off the head cover and she's like, Archie?
I'd recognize those abs anywhere. Archie?
So I guess she only recognized the abs. She had no idea who they were attached to.
But we all recognize the abs at this point. Like, I've seen those abs more than my own at this point in time.
So she walks into this place, and this is why I was saying Veronica has zero patience, which is probably explains why she's given up on the Innocence Project. Elio leads her in past the security. They cross the threshold. She takes one look around this bizarre place, and she's like, what are we doing here? My patience is wearing thin. Like, woman! Like, get a drink of water, wait for something to begin. You don't walk into the baseball stadium and are like, oh yeah, like no one's hit a fucking home run, let's go. national
Actually,
anthem.
that is how I treat baseball games.
Yeah, Archie is out there beating the shit out of someone, and then
I hope it wasn't baby teeth.
God, security is so tight at this place that a woman in an obvious wig can easily just go straight back into the room where the incarcerated fighter is left alone and unguarded to go bang him.
Yeah, and I've got to say, like, I'm sure this standing sex against, like, these hard metal lockers is just the exact thing that Archie's battered and bruised body needs right now.
Absolutely. I thought that, and also just, like, it's so sad that these two don't have chemistry so that this prison sex scene could be hot. So much potential.
She walks in and says, we only have about 20 minutes. And then after they start making out, it cuts to them talking. And I wanted Archie's first line to be like, so what are we going to do with the remaining 18 minutes and 48 seconds?
I mean, I have a little note here because much later in the episode, after they've broken Archie out, Veronica's like, Archie, what's that on your hip? Which she apparently missed the brand while they were having sex.
I forgot about. Oh my
Did
God.
Archie not take his pants off?
He could not wait.
Or does she just not want to see that?
Yeah, he couldn't wait. It's like how long has he been in there? Months?
I don't
She
know.
barely. Her clothes barely came off from what we saw.
Well, she's seen, like, zipping the dress back on, so I guess that came off. But I don't know what happened with Archie.
Archie is like our U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant, who once bragged that his wife had never seen him naked.
Interesting facts about Ulysses S. Grant.
He was a never nude.
There are dozens of them. So they quickly hatch an escape plan, and there's like a flashback to when Archie realizes there's a drain in the pool, which he had literally missed until a giant swirl of bloody water ran down it. And it's this giant black square in the middle of the pool that's like locked tightly, and there's a guard standing on it. It's like, I think that's a drain. Maybe it's a way to escape.
It's literally right where I fight people bare-knuckled. And is this the cringiest line? Where he's like, I don't know if I can fit through it. And Veronica says, curse your broad shoulders.
There's a drain under the ring. I have no idea where it leads or if I can even squeeze through it.
Curse your broad shoulders.
Yes, that is the cringiest line.
Which comes back in a very important way later.
Because it turns out, let's not spoil that one yet, even though people may have seen this.
So much to say. It's my favorite development of the episode.
Let's just say someone actually does have two broad shoulders to fit.
Jughead's really bulked up.
And then we cut back to Jughead goes to all four of his Southside Serpents, like, good news, the campaign is ready, and they all cheer. Like,
where are the rest of the gang members? Has the gang membership dwindled because it's like Jughead's leadership is not doing it for them?
I mean, that would be the most realistic development here, because it seems like they're only interested in griffins and gargoyles now.
Imagine like a real gang that's supposed to be doing crimes, and it's like, yeah, our leader is mostly just, when he's not writing in his trailer, he's playing griffins and gargoyles with his high school friends, so there's no incentive to join the Serpents at this point.
No. And then Betty comes in and gives Jughead the idea of a rescue mission, which apparently is something that Jughead could not come up with himself.
Betty, this quest that I've been working on that we're about to start, I thought I was finished, but it lacked heart. It lacked humanity until you just gave me the missing piece. I'll make it a rescue mission to save their friend. All Ethel ever talked about was being worthy. What is more worthy than that?
Jughead, this is not a game. This is Archie's life, and since you refuse to recognize that, I'm taking your bike.
Play more RPGs, man. What are you doing? That's the basic idea of many of them.
Yeah, we skipped over the part where Veronica interrupts the talking with Josie and Kevin and Reggie.
Did I skip that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And Veronica's like, this is all dumb. Let's go break out Archie. And everyone's like, yeah, you're right. This plot isn't worth it. And then Betty goes to Jughead for help.
It's almost like I skipped that on purpose because I don't care.
I thought you had stuff to say about Reggie's black eye, though.
Oh, yeah, but I already said it.
Okay.
Betty walks into the bunker And her line to Jughead is, "It's a long story, but I'm helping Veronica break Archie out of juvie."
To which Jughead has the understandable reaction of, I could use that as inspiration in my campaign. And now Jughead is the most believably written teen character because he'll pass up every social opportunity from sex to breaking his best friend out of jail so long as he can just game instead.
Look, we've all been there.
Betty takes his motorcycle like she's his mom. She's like, "I'm taking your bike."
In another great cringe line, she goes, "If you're not even going to help, I'm taking your bike."
I wanted Jughead to be like, "I'm a serpent, Betty. You gotta let me spread my wings." Wait, that analogy doesn't work. I'll come up with something better.
And then the warden is feeding Archie amazing food. Archie correctly realizes he's being given a last meal, so he asks the warden a bunch of questions about, like, how the murder was pinned on him. And it's pretty straightforward. Hiram just paid off the dead kid's friends to snitch on Archie.
This whole thing just felt like a weird cutscene from a video game. Like, talk to the creepy dude over a fancy meal and skip past all the reveals he gives you in the dialogue. Plus 250 XP.
Warden Norton implies that the paid-off people are hiding in the Shadow Mines, by Shadow Lake, in the Shadow Woods. And I just have to say, this world-building detail is excellent. It really paints a picture.
Yeah, it's in Shadow Township and Shadow County. Oh, we're really drilling in here. I also like that the warden just answers all these questions in the most just like call and response dialogue where Archie's like, how'd this get pinned on me? Hiram paid these people $10,000. Archie gets his final meal. He knows he's going to his death. And this is...
Oh, and we find out Warden Norton's a religious type. He tries to show some of his literature to Archie and is like, we must all pay obeisance to he who watches over all.
Judgment of all men belongs to he who resides in the kingdom alone. But he's watching us. He's always watching.
Yeah, this guy went from Shakespeare quotes to something else entirely. So, I mean, if they wanted to have this sort of religious overtone, maybe play that from the beginning. But this seems like episode 1 of this season was written without any notion of griffins and gargoyles tying into this plot line. And then by the time they got to episode 5, they're like, oh yeah, have the warden at this meal drink out of a gold chalice. And, you know, then he's going to call Archie the Red Paladin, and it's revealed he's been playing griffins and gargoyles too.
That is the dumbest reveal.
Josie and Kevin and Reggie know how to make homemade explosives in the high school chemistry lab.
Yeah. I mean, that's what their extracurriculars are for, right?
This is part of their breakout plan. I didn't know any of them were chemistry wizards.
They're all chemistry wizards, especially Reggie.
The important thing about this show is that everyone is good at everything. Just they don't reveal that to us until it's needed.
And this is where we begin the weird split screening where Jughead narrates his campaign and it applies to everything that happens in the breakout plot.
Yeah, it's almost like they're using the game as a metaphor for what's happening in the show, but I can't really tell. It's really subtle.
So, well, here's my legitimate question with this, because it mirrors it so closely where Jughead's like, oh, you're breaking out the Red Paladin, who's Archie, the red-haired, stupid son of a bitch. And everything that he's saying in this campaign with his buddies is correlating with something that happens in real life. Is this supposed
Very directly, too.
Yeah, is it so direct that it's supposed to be that the things that are happening in the dice rolls in the campaign that Jughead is playing are actually affecting real world events because this game is in itself inherently magical? Or am I reading this 100% wrong?
No, I had the same question. It's hard to tell, like, if this is controlling the events of the breakout or just synchronizing with them for lazy screenwriting.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that the writers knew. And they were just kind of trying to, to keep a foot on either side of that door. Just either way, this works.
Yeah, I have 2 quick notes about this. For better or worse, I do hate how directly all of Jughead's narration can cover the breakout plot. But I'll give the writers this. This is the first time everyone has been involved in the same-ish plot. So this is one of the least structurally confusing episodes to write an outline for, because everything is happening and it all ties together.
Yes. Yeah, he has some narration about, the paladin is betrayed and wounded before the fight, and that's where we get Joaquin kissing Archie before he stabbed him, which I don't get that. Was that like a Godfather 2 reference, or is that just like a thing you do before you stab someone? I've never stabbed anyone.
I think it was just the writers were like, we'll be really confused about what happens here until Joaquin stabs him. And so Joaquin is just the worst friend ever. Archie has saved him multiple times, and Joaquin just keeps betraying him every time.
I think this was all just a ploy to make a bunch of people write Joaquin/Archie prison fanfic, which I'm sure exists in plentiful quantity.
Oh God, you're right. I'm not.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
That's our new segment for next week. Instead of titles, we're gonna find weird Riverdale fan fiction and read our favorite excerpts.
All you love.
Yeah, I've definitely never read any Riverdale fan fiction before, so this will be like a brand new experience for me.
Hey, we're playing into your strengths, Sarah.
We are.
Lean in, as they say.
I will lean in. I will. If there's free literature, I will read it.
But yeah, so after Jughead narrates that, like, the Judas kiss happens, and then Joaquin Judas kisses Archie, and then stabs him so he can ascend in Griffins and Gargoyles. My question was, why does this game control the world around it? So I did some digging, and it turns out there's a real-life Griffins and Gargoyles starter set on our favorite website, Glamazon, so I bought and took a crack at it just this week, Hunter.
Wow, I want to play this game. How come you didn't tell me about this until just now?
Well, I just wanted to search it out and make sure that it was, really up to par. Sarah caught me playing it, and luckily my phone just happened to have the audio recording on, and it was set to professional audio for a podcast, so we can actually listen in to what happened when she caught me.
Hey, Kev, I'm home. Hey, where are you? Did you try out Griffins and Gargoyles like you wanted?
Sarah, it's all making sense now. All of this is becoming clear. The more I play, the more I see the patterns. See how this game controls Portland. The clues are subtle, but they're there. Read this.
Welcome to the mystical realm of Landport.
After hours of research, I've uncovered that Landport is an anagram of Portland.
Yeah, I was able to put that together.
And look, the role the game assigned me. Doesn't it sound suspiciously similar to my current job as a technical writer?
You are a scribe at Ye Old Software Company.
Uncanny.
Kevin, whoever made this card is clearly messing with you. It's not even well done. It's drawn with a crayon and company is spelled with a U.
Well, then how do you explain this? My quest card. Seek an increased tithe from Ye Old Software Release Manager.
Wow, this game is really phoning it in with the Ye Olds.
Right as I accepted this quest, my work phone rang. It was my manager. He wanted to call back about my request for a raise.
Oh my god, is this your way of telling me you got a raise? That would be perfect, especially with house hunting. I will forgive this whole weird setup if that's what's happening here.
No, my manager yelled and said he wasn't going to give a raise to someone who couldn't even spell company right. There were also some choice suggestions about whether or not he thought I should reproduce.
Yeah, I have some questions about that now too.
But he just doesn't understand. School marm Saraline has to mate with the scribe to fulfill the prophecy of the lackey who was promised.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stay away from the sex bunker until you've gotten this out of your system. See you later.
Wait! You still need to click the random binary number generator to reveal your fate.
Wow, this game seems like it might be creating a rift in your household.
Yeah, I had to throw it out. I was seeing too many patterns and I was just getting too close to the truth,
If you need a couch to crash on for a little while, just let me know.
We're at A Mad Dog is a Man's Best Friend.
Oh my god.
Oh, Mad Dog. He still looks so great. and he is twice as big as Archie and would very clearly kick his ass any day of the week, with or without Archie having just been stabbed. Doesn't matter.
They're not in the same weight class.
No! Yeah. This is not a fair fight at all.
Though we do get a great Mad Dog Archie snuggle sesh when Archie refuses to punch back.
Oh, they're so cute. I totally ship it.
Oh, look for Mad Dog Archie /fiction.
I mean, I would write Mad Dog /fiction with almost anyone but Archie.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
Yeah, Archie goes in, like, grapples him because he doesn't want to punch Mad Dog, and is like, oh, Veronica's gonna break me out of prison, like, go through the grate underneath this fighting ring with me. And Mad Dog's like, I've tried, I'm too fucking jacked.
Which I totally believe for Mad Dog. Like, he looks like the Incredible Hulk, but more muscular.
Like, his shoulders are actually too broad. With Archie, it's just like, just hunch your shoulders, man. You're fine. Just do it.
So there's like a whole plot point that revolves around Mad Dog just being too much of a specimen to escape from prison. He's like, I'll hold off the guards while you escape because my muscles are too huge.
I do want to point out that Mad Dog is described by Jughead as a resurrected hellhound, and I'd say he deserves better than that. He is a dragon at the very least.
He is.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah, at the same time, Jughead's narrating all this, and he turns to Southside Serpent member Fangs, who in the game he addresses as Pantera, which greatest band from Texas, incredible musical act. But how many nicknames does this kid have? Like, is that a lateral move from Fangs? Is he just trying it out?
Maybe that is the real appeal of Griffins and Gargoyles for this gang. They can, like, test out new names and see, like, what sounds cool.
Yeah, Veronica manages to bluff her way in, and
yeah, she pretends to be Monica Norton, the warden's niece.
And yeah, she and Reggie get in. Josie and Kevin pose as like delivery people.
Wait
staff, and they're easily able to get in. This place is the worst security.
Yeah, she's just like, I'm Norton Antivirus. You have to click me. I'm coming in.
And yeah, like no one really questions anyone. Of course, everyone sees them because none of these people are really obscuring their identities. And Hiram Lodge is also there, watching Archie get the shit beat out of him because Archie's supposed to be killed in this bout.
Yeah, Hiram gets off on all of this, and Veronica impales the dragon with her hidden dagger, by which I mean she just steps on his foot and runs away.
Oh yeah, Hiram Dark Dragon Lodge, they call him. He is fearsome indeed. How he wears his suit handsomely and tries to make people go running with him.
Don't they have this really overblown description where Jughead's like,
God.
You see the foul black dragon, its breath stinks of corruption and it's yucky and stuff.
And then he's just like, hey kid.
All of the descriptions that Jughead has written are really overblown. He's got like 50 pages bound together with stainless steel binding rings. Like, he has gone all out for this campaign. And I have to imagine that, like, as much fun as Fangs and Sweet Pea and Cheryl and Tony are having, like, they probably only want like a page or two of actual story notes.
Yes, the rest can really just be the players doing something, but Jughead goes overboard with like, the foul fiends are chasing you with like blood and snot dripping off of them, and they're nipping at your heels, and you can taste their breath in the air. It's really over the top.
And then at some point we cut to Kevin, who knew exactly where the sewer exit was, but not that it had a locked grate over it. How?
I don't know.
What?
It's implied that this is a recent addition because Jughead says, but alas, a protection spell has been placed on the grate by the Mad Emperor. So apparently they put a lock on there like in the past couple of days. Before that, it was just unlocked this whole time.
Okay.
And then Joaquin goes running by because I guess his payment for stabbing Archie was, you're free to go, and you can probably just be like squeal to anyone about what's going on here. But Joaquin's running through the woods, runs past Kevin, who looks up and says, Joaquin's first line is, why are you here? Instantly, Like, Kevin just says, oh, breaking Archie out. Like, you could...
Gives it all up.
What?
The naturalism of the scene is on point.
He just, like, drops a hacksaw and, like, a metal file on his toe. He's like, oh, you know, usual stuff out here in the woods. Not cruising for other guys, you know, waiting for you, Joaquin. Want to go grab coffee?
Yeah, so Kevin calls Betty, who is busy sabotaging what is later revealed to be Warden Norton's car, so that she can break him the grate while he chases after Joaquin, because Kevin needs to get some. Moose is just not cutting it.
Clearly.
But no, his ex just keeps walking away. Yes, I used that one again. I'm not proud.
You know, if we haven't seen the last of him, like the Phoenix, he will rise again.
He absolutely will.
And then,
Birds of a feather head stick together, you know?
And then we go from that to Veronica finally enacts, like, the breakout portion of the plan. She, Josie, and Reggie throw all three of their smoke bombs into the emptied out pool, and it's like, oh no, who is possibly throwing all three of these cans? We can't possibly look in both directions they're coming from.
And there's so little smoke. It's like, it's not like a smoke bomb. It's like a stage with like a small fog machine that's on the fritz. Like, it's just kind of like, ooh, it's kind of a weird ambiance in here right now. Like, you can still see.
It's like the beginning of a low-budget 80s music video where, like,
yes.
They couldn't get the good fog machines.
So it's just like everyone's feet are a little blurry.
I will say, once the smoke really gets going and we get that cool shot of Mad Dog holding off all of the police while surrounded by smoke is one of the most badass shots I think I've ever seen.
Mad Dog is my fucking favorite character. This better not be the last we see of him. They already took him away once.
He is too amazing to go out like a punk, and he is just beautiful, and I love him.
So, like you said, Reggie, Josie, and Veronica throw a couple smoke bombs, and then apparently they just waltz out of this place that has security that Veronica described as very tight. How the hell did they
I don't know.
manage to get out scot-free? There's not even a shot of it to show it. They're just like, oh, next we know, they're outside.
Who knows?
How did Joaquin escape? Who knows?
These are unimportant questions.
It would have made more sense if after, you know, Joaquin had been promised, because he says these things about like, oh, I'm going to ascend, and he tells Kevin, I'm not a serpent anymore, I'm part of a new gang, because he's gone full G&G. It would have been cool or made more sense if the warden took him aside as like, now you're present, you get to ascend, and like blows his brains out or whatever. Because that seems to be sort of the warden's MO. And would also tie up a loose end.
There's just no consistency here.
Instead, he's just, I guess, we're led to believe they were just like, oh, Joaquin, you did good. Like, run off, go into the woods, have fun, be free now.
Yeah. I will say, this is where the great part of the Great Escape becomes questionable, because 2 episodes ago, Archie was talking about how everyone's going to break out together. But now it's just him who kind of just like sneaks out through the sewer.
Yeah, like, I guess fuck Baby Teeth, Thumper, and Peter. Those guys just get screwed.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
Well, he says he'll come back for them, which should be very easy.
Yeah. And Betty unlocks the pipe grate right as Archie reaches the exit, and I don't know why, but it is unusually satisfying to see Archie bleeding out and covered in shit.
This whole thing just was so awful to me. Just like Archie has gaping open wounds that are now covered in fecal matter. Like, oh yeah, he'll definitely be fine now that some teenagers have patched him up in a poorly lit bunker with no running water. Nothing to worry about. This is an infection waiting to happen. He's going to get septic in like 2 days.
I mean, Tony used to be a bartender, so she knows everything you need to know about doctoring puncture wounds.
She's like, just throw more ice on it. It's fine.
I've got a great Cape Cod that'll go perfect with this.
Okay, so but this is where things really get weird with the game and real life coming into confluence, because Betty does this fake out escape where she and Kevin poses as Archie and they ride away on the motorcycle in order to draw the guards off. And when the warden finally catches them and they reveal they're not Kevin's not Archie, the warden says, "Where's the Red Paladin?" which is what Jughead's been referring to Archie as within the game. So is the warden's overall game that's being dictated by the Gargoyle King, is that somehow dictating Jughead's campaign, or is Jughead's campaign dictating real life? There's some sort of definitely supernatural connection there.
It's a weird open question. My question here, aside from all that, is just where did this paladin thing come from? Because we've already heard all of the G&G roles, and they had unique classes for their game. We heard about the Radiant Knight class, which just basically sounded paladin-esque. But I guess they realized that sounded stupid, so now they're just going back to paladin? I don't know.
I would never choose that class. It's just always the lamest class.
Yeah.
Because paladin's between a fighter and a cleric.
And they're morally upstanding. So that is exactly how the Radiant Knight is described when Fred gets that character in the Midnight Club.
Right. I mean, they always have kind of weakish attacks and weakish healing spells. It's the worst of both worlds. Why?
But yeah. My other note is, for fuck's sake, Jughead, quit narrating all of this. Just tell us our saving roll was high enough to get it free of the police.
It's just, he spends so much time narrating. There's so little or not at all of the actual players saying what they're going to do, besides Cheryl being I'm gonna try an intimidation spell. He's kind of a bad dungeon master because he's really dictating this campaign way too much.
Yeah, I did like that Tony and Cheryl just passionately make out once they get free of the police, just like anyone would, having just won a single scenario in a tabletop RPG.
What do you mean? I do that every time.
Nothing's more erotic than tabletop gaming.
But yeah, it's
I don't know why you said that in a joking manner.
So, and I will give Riverdale credit for this. Betty did, during the planning stage, say, "Oh, I've got a suggestion that can make this work." And the show leads us to believe that the suggestion to make the plot work better was her tampering with Warden Norton's car. But it was clearly the idea was to put Kevin on the back of the motorcycle and make them believe that he is Archie.
I'm just glad that my charmed mace from the titles last time came into play here.
Because yes, Betty performs a successful intimidation roll in the Warden by brandishing her +3 mace spray.
And he's so scared. I don't know why. If she sprayed it right now, she and Kevin would get just as maced as he would. Does he not know how air works? I don't know.
There are 5 different guard guys from the prison around. Since these kids were definitely involved in this whole breakout thing, wouldn't they still be apprehended?
They sure would be, yeah.
Instead, they're just "Oh, okay, you're not Archie, you're some other kids who broke him out of prison and destroyed my car. I guess you can go now."
The Warden really likes to play fair, you know?
Yeah, we've definitely learned that about him.
Because they all get off scot-free, they get Archie back to the bunker.
Yes, and Jughead reveals that he is a terrible game master. He had no ending for this campaign in mind. He was just waiting to see what happened with Archie. And it's so weird that his refusal to help out with the Archie breakout has no repercussions. No one is upset with him. No one's miffed that he sat this out just to play board games. They're just cool, so you're fully a part of this. You helped out as best you could.
Look, G&G wasn't going to play itself. Someone had to do it.
And in a weird parallel, Veronica swears everyone to secrecy, saying they're going to take the whereabouts of Archie to the grave.
She makes them all swear, but V, you have nothing to worry about. Put any 10 random teenagers in a bunker, and you'll have a room full of incredible secret keepers.
As we see in a subsequent scene where Reggie is at Pop's loudly talking about, "I can't believe we pulled off that escape. It sure was difficult getting Archie out of jail and taking him to a bunker in the woods."
Yeah.
Can you hear me down in the speakeasy, or should I talk louder?
Let me just tweet out his coordinates real quick.
I dropped a pin there.
Then we cut to Warden Norton, who is out here solo gaming like a true fan.
Oh, wait. We need to quickly cover Hermione and Hiram arguing. Hermione is upset at everything the Warden has done. She's like, the Innocence Project is breathing down my neck. And I had my note here, isn't the Riverdale Innocence Project just Veronica?
So here's the other thing. Veronica, after they get Archie back safe and sound, patch him up, everyone sees he has a sick new brand to go with his savage tattoo. She goes home to her parents because she's like, I gotta do damage control. Fucking emancipate yourself, Veronica. You're a business owner. You're 17 years old. Why the fuck are you still going home, you dumbass? You know your father was literally at an underground fighting ring where he was like, I'm going to watch my daughter's boyfriend be murdered by an extremely impressive mad dog.
Yeah.
You just put a bed in a side room in your speakeasy and be done with it.
Yeah, it's all so weird. And then Hermione goes to confront Warden Norton, and this is the part you were talking about.
Yeah. Warden Norton out here solo gaming like a true fan. And then,
he drinks cyanide rather than talk to Hermione, and I just have to say, same, man, same.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know she's really boring, but you don't need to kill yourself over it. There are other choices.
Yeah, he drinks cyanide because he's looking at, like, quest cards for G&G where it was, like, kill the Red Paladin, which, you still have a shot, buddy.
It makes perfect sense that Warden Norton is into G&G, though. I mean, what underground, teen branding, bare-knuckle boxing hosting, mafia-connected, dirty cop wouldn't be pulled in by the allure of tabletop gaming?
What the hell is going on in this show?
I mean, it is really depressing when you lose a campaign at the last minute, but, like, this is a little bit of an overreaction. Just play it again. It's fine.
But it's all connected because Archie has a rune tattoo from Griffins and Gargoyles, and Jughead sees the connections.
One last thing. Kevin, Josie, and Reggie decide to play Griffins and Gargoyles, but they're interrupted by an announcement on the news that Archie Andrews, escaped convicted murderer, is on the lam in Riverdale, to which I have to say, he's not a convicted murderer. He pled guilty to manslaughter, a different crime.
Yes, and okay, my thing here was, going back to the fact we haven't seen Luke Perry, how come Archie hasn't said anything like, tell my dad I'm safe?
No one cares about
It's
Luke
weird
Perry.
that they forgot about him, and you would have thought that Archie, being Mr. Squeaky Clean, would kind of just like, hey, talk to my dad, let him know, because Luke Perry's probably worried sick at home.
I mean, hopefully he shows up next episode. That would make sense. I just thought, I mean, not once has a convicted murderer been loose in my area, and I can't help feeling hurt and left out. I feel like that would be very exciting. I just want to hear that news bulletin once, you know? Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, Hunter, take us into the ending.
Yeah, Jughead and Betty are watching over Archie as he's sleeping like a baby. Jughead gently strokes Archie's face, and... no, that's the fan fiction I'm writing. Betty tells Jughead to go home, get some sleep. Juggy walks outside, sees the Gargoyle King, gently strokes his face, and bows to the Gargoyle King, and that's where we end on Jughead meets GK.
This is where, again, we just have a question like, is this game controlling reality? Because otherwise, the Gargoyle King was just waiting randomly in the woods, hoping someone would walk by who was vaguely connected to G&G who would bow to it.
He had to have known that Jughead was there through magic or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, everything happens for convenience in this show.
Yeah. So let's do our little wrap up. The Southside Serpents are way too into G&G, and the gang war is going nowhere. Archie has been broken out of prison and is hiding in Dilton Doyley's bunker. Josie, Reggie, and Kevin all got to sit at the adult table at Pop's. Jughead is completely under the sway of the Gargoyle King. And Griffins and Gargoyles somehow controls the real world, and several prominent political figures seem to be playing it.
Just like real life. Everything makes sense. I don't think that I don't think we need to explain anything. I think
No, I mean, I think it's very obvious that right now most political figures are just playing a game of Pandemic Legacy. And that's explaining what's happening in the real world. It's too obvious, really.
All of our predictions are going to be so simple because it's so easy to tell where this plot's going to go next.
Oh, I cut the prediction section out completely. I'm done.
What I want to see is just like Jughead and the Gargoyle King over at Pop's sharing a cup of coffee and a slice of pie, just like joking and slapping their knees. I don't know what's gonna happen next. Who fucking knows at this point? We've covered a lot of these cringe lines. Are there any that you guys had that we didn't specifically touch on?
Yeah, one I forgot to mention is when Elio is first speaking to Veronica, he says, "You have quite the little gold mine on your manicured hands," and I just hated it.
You know, if you added a couple of slots, table games, maybe some cocktails with actual liquor, you'd have quite the little gold mine on your manicured hands.
We covered most of mine, but I really got into Jughead's stuff of like, we've been playing this game for a lot longer than we know.
Yes. The Goblins and Orc quest thing. Oof.
Yeah, but everything he said was just like every cliched line about a game in any sort of piece of fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he made a reference to, I'm the game master. Also bad.
And is there anything else you guys wanted to mention?
I am going to give this a score of 3.5 Mad Dogs. Little high, but I felt I had to give it the extra 0.5 because Mad Dog.
Absolutely. I'll give it 3 out of 5 homemade smoke bombs.
I was gonna go, probably 3 out of 5 arrows through the tent.
I mean, this episode was bound to disappoint us after the high of last week. Like, there was no way that we weren't going to be disappointed.
There wasn't a single 80s song in this episode.
And there was a perfect opportunity for shot through the heart if Cheryl had aimed just a little lower.
Oh, but yes, we survived this episode of Riverdale, and we'll be on to the next one. Thank you for listening to Gritty Reboot. Make sure to subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave a review because it helps us grow.
Next week, we'll be discussing Riverdale Season 3, Episode 6, Manhunter.
In the meantime, you can reach us on Twitter at GrittyRebootPod or by email at GrittyRebootPodcast@gmail.com. You can check out our website, GrittyRebootPodcast.com, for info about the show, past episodes, and upcoming news. We look forward to seeing you next time.